Big Jones the Juggernaut. Welcome back to Unleashed at Sea, in the series I am calling The Trip That Wasn't Supposed to Happen. We have just left Curaçao. In fact, I can still see Curaçao out of my window right now. We are just pulling out of Curaçao, or in the immortal words of Post Malone, I'm about to pull out. Okay, I'm done. Anyway, we are just leaving Curaçao right now. Had a great day in Curaçao. I'm really excited to tell you guys about it because we had a really awesome time. So I'm going to jump right into it. Otherwise, this video is going to be like an hour long. So today was an early day for us because, like I told you, if you watched the last one about Aruba, we stayed in Aruba pretty much all day long because Curaçao is only 22 miles away from Aruba. It's a really short distance, so we were able to stay in Aruba until about 9 o'clock, maybe even 10 o'clock last night before we pulled out. And so we arrived in Aruba early this morning at about 7, and we had actually booked a shore excursion this time. Remember the last one in Aruba, we didn't actually book a shore excursion. We just kind of winged it. Excuse me, but this time we actually took a shore excursion. We paid for it in advance. You know, we went through Carnival, did the whole shore excursion thing because we really wanted to make sure we maximize our time because you don't get a whole lot of time in Curaçao, not like Aruba. It's actually very little time. We're actually... I think the ship, they told us to be back on the ship by 2:30, so not a lot of time, right in the middle of the day there. So not a lot of time in Curaçao, but that's okay. So we actually we managed to pack in a whole lot. That's why I want to jump right into this. So we get down there, and our shore excursion, we did the Discovery Island tour. Discover Curaçao. So we went and, you go down. It's actually really convenient because it's right down by the pier. So we got down there early at about 8 o'clock. We got down there. So, it gave us a little time to go through some of the shops, take a look. Again, no duty free in Curaçao. Just like I was saying about Aruba and about the ships, there's not a whole lot of duty free stuff going on in Aruba, or I say in Curaçao either. So, there was just a couple of little knick-knack shops, T-shirts, hats, the usual kind of stuff, So, I got a T-shirt with, I got a Curaçao T-shirt just to say I've been there, T-shirt from Curaçao. I also got a magnet around. Oh yeah, here we go. Here's the magnet I got from Curaçao. Little, if I can focus in on that. Try to focus. There we go. Magnet from Curaçao. Put it on the fridge when I get home. Anyway, so I'll zip past all the little asides. We get to the bus now. I just want to go ahead and do a quick juxtaposition between the bus tour we took in Aruba and the bus tour we took in Curaçao. Bus tour in Aruba, $50 for two people. Bus tour in Curaçao, $140 for two people. Bus tour in Aruba, no AC, open air bus. Bus tour in Curaçao, AC, enclosed bus. Wife in Aruba, not so happy. Wife in Curaçao, pretty happy. So, just a heads up, you get what you pay for. So anyway, we get on the bus, and right away, the juxtaposition between the two tour guides that we had was immense. In Aruba, aggressive, older black man.
You guys got to keep a little quiet so they can understand what I'm saying. Thank you.
In Curaçao, docile, older Dutch lady.
Oh, nothing falls into the drinking water, while the ones without, best of luck, right?
Right. Her name was Ursula, real sweet lady, as opposed to Albert in Aruba. I don't know if I mentioned his name before, but Albert we had in Aruba. Both great tour guides. I love them both. They're both great in their own way, but, Ursula was a little more docile, a little more, just chill. She didn't yell at us quite as much, but she was very, very insistent that we be back on the bus on time. But we'll get to that. So we get on the bus, and right away, Curaçao is beautiful. It's a very beautiful place. I think a lot of people have seen pictures, but seeing it in person is really amazing. The Dutch influence. You can really tell the Dutch kind of almost German-looking buildings. The different colors. You've all seen those pictures of the row of houses in Curacao with the Dutch influence, very colorful, very cool to see them in person. Unfortunately, we didn't get much of a chance to get out and really take a good picture. So most of the pictures I'm going to show you guys are from the bus because, like I said, we were on a tight schedule, so I didn't really get much of a chance to get out of the bus and take a good picture for you. But, I'll do my best and crop them up and make them look pretty for you. Anyway, we get to our first destination. Again, there was only three. Yeah, there were three destinations on this one, just like Aruba. But we got a lot more time in Curaçao than we did in Aruba. Isn't that weird? We spent an entire day, like over 12 hours in Aruba. We got maybe 8 hours, if that, in Curaçao, and we had a lot more time to spend at the stops in Curaçao. So I don't know why I keep forgetting what the first stop was. It just happened too. It wasn't that. Oh yeah, it was the museum, the Curaçao museum. And the biggest difference between, well, actually no, it's not. Both tour guides in Aruba and Curaçao gave us a lot of history. Ursula, the tour guide in Curaçao, also gave us a lot of history. She was just she wasn't quite as energetic as Albert. I mean, she was an older lady, and she had her little moments that, made us chuckle a little bit. But, she was a little more soft-spoken, not a problem, when we went to the museum, she gave us the... definitely not the dime tour. She gave us definitely a $20 tour of that place. She gave us a lot of great information. The tour itself, by the time we got off at the museum, first of all, we spent the first 30 minutes outside talking about trees and about cactus. Very interesting stuff. Don't get me wrong, but damn, it's hot. It's humid. Let's get inside. Well, getting inside didn't help. It was still pretty hot. It was a very hot and humid day today, but it's the Caribbean. What are you gonna do? But we saw a lot of great architecture, a lot of great artwork, and that whole museum was kind of built to show people what it was like to live back in the plantation era days, which always kind of surprised me because it's like, why would black people ever go, and see what what it was like during slavery? Like, why would that be entertaining for us? But actually, it is. It's good to see, where you come from. It really is when you travel like this and you see these islands and different places and countries like this. It is interesting to see that history. Not to get all preachy and everything, but slavery did exist. It was a thing for a very long time. It's a part of our history, and it's just interesting to see where it came from and where we all came from. So, black people, people of color, from the Spanish, the Portuguese, all over the world, African, the Indians, everywhere, it's all coming to this big, huge melting pot. This tiny island, they say there's like 7 or 8 languages spoken on this island of less than 200,000 people. I think it's at 160,000 people, and there's like 8 or 9 languages spoken on here. It's crazy. There's all kinds of different churches and religions. It's very, very interesting, and a lot of that was on display at the museum. One thing I thought was interesting about the museum is that you could take pictures inside the museum, which, for me, being from the U.S., that's very, very frowned upon to take photography of the artwork in museums. But yeah, I took some pictures. Took a lot of pictures, actually. It was really cool. Honestly, the museum, I was kind of done with it after a while. I think we spent a good hour at the museum, maybe even longer than that, maybe a little longer than an hour. But I was kind of, it was nice, don't get me wrong, but, it was not very big. You could walk around it in maybe 20 minutes, that ironically would have been a good 15-minute stop for me. It was nice, but I could take it or leave it, But it was good. I do love a good museum, so nothing wrong with that. So we got back on the bus after the museum. Now we're getting into the nuts and bolts. So we go from the museum, we go to the Hato caves. I was very interested in seeing this just by reading the description. There was a lot of neat stuff that there wasn't a whole lot of pictures from inside the cave, so I didn't really know how big it was going to be. Man, it was very, very cool. I think that was probably at least tied for my favorite part of the trip. We'll get to the third one, and then I'll let you guys decide. But anyway, the caves were amazing. It Yeah, incidentally, I took a video of this. We were outside the entrance to the caves. There's a pretty steep stairway to get up to the entrance, and right outside the stairway was a little enclosure for some tortoises, some turtles, and I don't know. This has happened to me a couple of times at zoos and stuff that animals will just start humping right in front of me. I don't know what I mean. I'd like to think that maybe my strong masculine energy is inspiring something with these animals, but I mean, these animals just literally started humping right in front of us, and we're all just like, I'm a guy, I can't help but laugh and make comments, but everybody was laughing. But it was just a funny thing that happened. The turtles getting it on right there. I'd like to think that was a sign of good luck. I feel like turtles making love right in front of us was a blessing to our party. So I'm going to go ahead and go with that. But anyway, forget about the turtle screwing. We went up the stairs. Beautiful views from up there, by the way. Show you guys a few pictures of that. Beautiful views of the island from up there. I mean, it's a beautiful island all around. So, everywhere you see is going to be a beautiful view. Go inside the caves, and, we had a tour guide independent from the tour guide on the bus. There was a different tour guide for the caves. And we went on the tour, and man, it was great. I mean, it was just like you see on the Discovery Channel, man. If you ever watch again, inside the caves, actually, there wasn't, you couldn't take a lot of pictures and everything. There did come a time where you could take some pictures. It's because they don't want to disturb the bats. There's fruit bats all throughout the caves, and they help the local vegetation and everything, so they don't want to disturb the bats. And, I'm all about not making trouble for other people in other countries when I travel. So, I followed the rules this time. But when we did get to a point where we could take pictures, I mean, I really wanted to share this with you guys because it is absolutely amazing. Stalactites and stalagmites. I mean, it's, the water that trickles through. We finally made it to the point where you could take pictures, and there's this big oculus from the ceiling that shafts light down. It's absolutely beautiful, man. I mean, it's really, really amazing. The entire tour of the caves was probably 30 minutes. Very, very humid inside the cave, by the way. There's fans all up and down the walkways. Some of those little walkways were very, very tight. You had to duck down and to get through. And the stairs in there, some of them are pretty steep. You definitely got to watch your step. But, man, totally worth it. I've never done anything like that before. I've never been to a cave or any kind of natural preserve like that. Man, it was so worth it. Very, very cool. If you ever have an opportunity to do something like that, highly recommend it because it was amazing. Side note from the cave, though, I mentioned this on my Aruba video about the equator. If we're south of the equator or not, if we're in the southern hemisphere, I found out we are not. So in Curaçao, we are about the furthest south that we're going to get on this trip, and we're not south of the equator. We're actually, Ursula told us we are 12 degrees north of the equator, which equates to about 700 miles north of the equator. So we're not in the southern hemisphere just yet. So maybe one day I'll make it, but not this trip. So anyway, back to the cave. We saw all the fruit bats flying around. They weren't too big. They were maybe like inch and a half big. But yeah, they were flying around. You could definitely tell that they weren't birds. They definitely looked like bats, so they were flying around. Nothing, but they didn't come down and try to mess with us or nothing, but it was neat to see them flying around and up in the ceiling in their little habitats. They say that cave is over 300,000 years old, from the volcanic activity below the island. So very, very cool to see that, man. And obviously, they don't want you to touch anything. They want you to stay inside the railings, and then they have the one spot where you can go and kind of, move around a little bit, take pictures and whatnot. But we did that, and, it was a really, really great tour. But by the time we were ready to go, yeah, I was ready to go too. Cause man, I usually don't complain about the heat or about the weather that much, but man, it was really humid in that cave. So if you have like one of those little pocket fans, the little pocket fans that, you just hit a button and it turns on, or maybe you get the bigger one that, you hit a button and it sprays water in your face in front of the fan, bring it, because that'd be the perfect time to have it. Because, woof, man, I was trying to fan my wife and she was fanning me. It was really humid in that cave. So definitely make sure you prepare, hydrate, and have a great time, man, because that place is really, really cool. I would definitely go there again. So far, Curacao is one up on Aruba. I remember our tour guide in Aruba was telling us, you got to come. He was really, really pushing, here's all the reasons to come back to Aruba for a long stay, and you should fly in and stay for a long time in Aruba. So far, Curacao has kind of got my attention. It's piqued my interest. If I was going to go somewhere between Aruba and Curacao, it would definitely be Curacao at this point. But we still have one more stop to make. Well, two more technically, but it's in the same country, in La República Dominicana, which is going to be tomorrow. So, but Curacao so far has been my favorite on this trip so far. But we'll see. We still have two more stops. Anyway, so we finish up at the cave. We head back down that steep staircase, and, we get back on the bus, grabbed a couple of drinks on the way back. And now we're on to the portion of the tour that I was the most excited about before I realized how cool the cave was. But I think everybody was excited about this. It was the Curaçao Distillery. If you've ever had a drink with blue Curacao, I think most people, that's the only reason why they know how to pronounce the word Curacao, is because they've had it in a drink before. So we went to the distillery that makes Curacao. So interesting thing that I learned. Unfortunately, at the distillery, we only had about 20 minutes because it was starting to get late, and I hate to be a stickler because Miss Ursula was such a sweet lady. She was really, really nice. But, we only had 15, 20 minutes. It was like 20 minutes, about 20 minutes at the distillery. And meanwhile, we spent 30 minutes outside a museum talking about trees and cactus. I'm not being a dick, but could have taken that 30 minutes and tacked it on to our run at the distillery. But be that as it may, 20 minutes. The distillery is only maybe 2 rooms, and then there's an outside portion where you can get a drink, and there's a gift shop where you can actually buy some stuff. So the distillery was really cool. I actually got a couple of souvenirs. Can't go to Curacao without getting some blue Curacao, right? So got some authentic Curacao. And I know what you might be thinking, like, you could have bought that at home. Not true. We got to sample some Curacao. Back to what I was saying. What I found out is that blue Curacao is, it's based, if you ever tried it by itself, it's orange flavored liqueur. So what I found out is that all Curacao, genuine Curacao, air quote, genuine Curacao, it's all orange flavored liqueur. It could be green, it could be red, it could be all kinds of the different colors, and it's all orange flavor. But they change the colors so they can make different colored drinks and make it fun and fruity and all that stuff. So that was really cool. Something else I didn't know is that there's other flavors of Curacao, and let me get some of those. It's not called Curacao, though, but it is from that distillery. I have a chocolate liqueur here called Chocolati. I don't know if you can see that. I'm trying to make my camera cooperate here. There we go. Chocolati. Chocolate liqueur. Really, really tasty. This is one of the ones that they let us sample on the way in. And tamarind liqueur, or tamarin. Not sure how you pronounce that. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but somebody let me know. Tamarind liqueur. I'm sorry, my camera's not cooperating. Tamarind liqueur. Really, really good. In fact, my wife, that was my wife's favorite, so I had to get one. So the distillery tour was really cool. Again, didn't get a whole lot of time to spend there, but luckily there actually wasn't a whole lot to see. I just would have stayed longer, and we would have gotten a couple of drinks, and we would have probably taken our time looking at the souvenirs and stuff. You kind of had to know what you want, get in and get out, and get back to the bus. So that's cool. In that short time that we had, it ended up being about 3 3.5, maybe 4 hours. We got to do a lot of stuff. They packed a whole lot of stuff in. No beach day today. We're actually going to hit the beach tomorrow in Dominican Republic. So Curacao was a lot of fun, though. Really, really interesting stuff. Highly recommend you put it on your cruise itinerary the next time you go cruising. It's a lot of fun. In fact, I'm going to be looking at what kind of resorts, what kind of hotels they have, man. Maybe a 20th anniversary tour, in Curacao might be a thing, just do a land tour. But definitely check that out, man. Other than that, man, the Curaçao trip, I'm trying to think of anything else interesting that that we learned on there. Man, they pack so much information, But I'll show you a couple of pictures of these. I got a weird fascination with cemeteries. I love the cemeteries in New Orleans, and the ones in Aruba and in Curacao are kind of like those. They build the above-ground graves. Above-ground graves. That sounded weird when it came out of my mouth, but it was right. So those were really awesome. Again, didn't get a chance to stop and kind of look through them. Again, I don't know if that's, permitted like it is in New Orleans. Certainly don't want to offend anybody. That's really awesome. They say that they build them above ground because of the water, but they say in the Jewish tradition, this is actually a picture of a Jewish cemetery. It's against their religion to bury their dead above ground. So those stones are above ground, but the bodies are actually buried in the ground. So a little something I learned, who says you can't go on vacation and be a little bit smarter. And if you want to get buried alive with me, like, share, and subscribe to BJBL Unleashed on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram while you're at it, and I will see you next time for more Unleashed.